In this video, I'll be discussing what constitutes as a good learning objective and how we can create one. When we're preparing objectives for our lessons, the purpose of the objective is to show us what our goal for our students is at the end of that lesson, and it should be in alignment with a standard such as Common Core standard or Early Learning standard. An example of such a standard would be Arizona's English Language Arts Standard, KRL2, which states, with prompting and support, students will retell familiar stories, including key details. Perhaps I would be applying this standard to a lesson based around the story of the Three Little Pigs, where my students will be given guidance and support on how to appropriately sequence a story. The goal for my students at the end of that lesson would be something like, students will reproduce the story sequence of the Three Little Pigs by placing story sequencing cards in the correct order. This is my objective for that lesson, and it's what my students will be working towards. It clearly states what the students will be able to do at the end of the lesson. They'll be able to place the story sequencing cards in the correct order, and it shows how we can measure that skill, if it's in the correct order or not. So, good objectives should be clear, specific, and measurable. We now know what standard this objective represents, what students should be able to achieve at the end of the lesson, and how their understanding will be measured. But we can also determine what level of Bloom's taxonomy the objective belongs to. As we know, there are 6 levels of Bloom's taxonomy, with 3 being lower level thinking and 3 being higher level thinking. Different action verbs are utilized to represent the different levels of Bloom's taxonomy. As we can see in my example objective, students will reproduce the story sequence of the Three Little Pigs by placing story sequencing cards in the correct order. Reproduce is the action verb. Reproduce falls under the knowledge category, thereby making this a lower level objective. Now that we understand the components of an objective, we can better grasp how to write one. First, we need to determine which standard we are meeting, what our goal is for the students to achieve at the end of the lesson, how we will measure their achievement, and what level of Bloom's taxonomy that achievement falls under based on the action the students will be completing.